Okay, good morning, bon dia. Let's get some energy in the room. So in your goodie bag, you have a book. It took me 3 years to write, so please just spend 3 minutes at least to read it. I'd be ever so grateful. And if you like it, leave a review. Reviews mean the world for books. It did win Marketing Sales Book of the Year in the UK and several awards in the US, and I'm actually now writing my second edition. So if you have any great examples that you would like to see included, it does cover a broad range of marketing strategy. Please come and chat to me. I'm here for the whole day. I'm here this evening as well. So I'm always looking for new case studies and examples. Okay, so what am I going to be talking about? I'm going to be talking about the top 5 common pitfalls in marketing strategy. These are from my own experience. These are from me running my agency. These are from what clients also see. 5 of these feature in the book as well, so you'll get some more context once you read the book. Who am I? So I am a keen runner. I love to run. I actually just set up a new running club in my local village, which was the first one they ever had. I live in Coimbra in central Portugal. I moved here 6 years ago from the UK. I have my son, my husband, and our 2 dogs, and we go on lots of hiking, lots of walks. Where we live is in the mountains. We're surrounded by beautiful river beaches, so it's a really beautiful landscape. I started my business on that narrowboat right down at the bottom there in central London. So I moved to London, relocated with a tech company I was working with, and then started my own business. And what a better way to see London than to live on a narrowboat for 2 years. Pretty awesome. So if anyone wants to talk to me about starting businesses or moving locations, please come to me. In a work life, I run a marketing agency, which has been going for 7 years, called Let's Talk Strategy. We do everything to do with marketing consultancy. Strategy is our main core. But we also have a full service team that does email execution, email marketing campaigns, email technology solutions as well. I'm a qualified teacher, so I teach for the CIM, the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I've just written a course for LSE on digital marketing strategy, and I teach all over the world. I'm actually going to Barcelona on Sunday to go teach for 3 weeks, and I go to Asia as well to teach. I've written a book, and I also volunteer. I volunteer at an animal shelter half a day a week, and I go to help with anything that needs to be done there as well. One of our dogs is a rescue dog, and I've just kind of stayed involved ever since. Okay, so enough about me. The first pitfall that we don't want to fall into, we want to avoid with marketing strategy, is one that you may have seen in your own inbox. Can anyone see what's wrong with this email campaign? Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like this is really personal to you now? Happy birthday, F name? Kind of not so much. So there was a really good intention here. Great intention. Want to celebrate your birthday? Here's a discount or just a happy birthday message. But it falls over because we don't think about our default in the database. Such a simple thing to avoid. It's just to tell the ESP or the database, if there is no value for the first name, say, dear customer, or something else. If we leave it blank, it will just try and pull something that isn't there. Hence this kind of mistake here. So even with huge amounts of data, we've got AI, latest technology, we still see this kind of every day in the inbox. This is also a snapshot of my inbox that maybe looks similar to your own. Maybe. So this person contacted me on the 1st of September. I did not know who they were. But they knew me because they said, Jenna, was it something I said? No, because we haven't spoken before and I don't know who you are, so I'm not going to open the email. Hi there, Jenna, it's me again. 3 days later. Still didn't open the email, still don't know who they are. This is my 3rd attempt to contact you, Jenna. Okay, I'm still not engaged, and you still continue. Jenna, I can't seem to reach you. Jenna, I know you're busy, but I'm still going to send you another email. Jenna, I get the feeling this isn't a priority. It took quite a while to get to that stage of realizing it's not my priority, maybe it's yours. Jenna, should I wave the white flag? Probably, yeah. because I have not opened all the way through this, and I still don't know who you are. You seem to know a lot about me. Now, in a real case scenario, this would be considered stalking. If someone kept coming to your door, "Hi, Jenna, open the door. Hello, it's me. Are you busy? I'm still going to keep knocking." Be like, "Wow, okay." But in the inbox, this is a common scenario, right? Does everyone kind of see this in their inbox quite often? Yeah. So we still need to remember the human connection, the human relationship we're trying to build, even in the digital context. I'm going to give you an example of a real-life customer online journey. It's actually my own, embarrassingly so, when I start to tell you this story. So we bought our house in Portugal. It needs a lot of work. A lot of work as in a new roof, new walls, new electrics, everything, which we didn't realize when we bought it. We're getting to the stage now where we're nearly done. And so I had the fun job of looking for toilet seats. And so where do I go? I think, okay, I just need something quick. I'm just going to go to Amazon. So I search on Amazon for toilet seats. An array pops up on my screen. I live a rock and roll lifestyle, as you can tell. I go to Instagram. I see ads for toilet seats. This is not what I want to see on my Instagram. Also looks like I might have a slight addiction to toilet seats, because then I go to my inbox and I get recommendations for more toilet seats and accessories for toilet seats. Now it's getting a little bit crazy. So I thought, okay, is this something that's been happening a while? So I go to X, and I see this tweet here. "Dear Amazon, I bought a toilet seat because I needed one. Necessity, not desire. I do not collect them. I am not a toilet seat addict. No matter how temptingly you email me, I'm not going to think, oh, go on then. I'll just treat myself. I'll buy another toilet seat." Now, when you look at the date of this tweet, that's from 2018. So this has been going on for a long time. And what's missing here is context. So the same automation, the same rules have been applied, but without the context. No one's going to buy a toilet seat 3-4 times a year, and that's kind of exceptional. You're probably going to make that purchase once or twice in your lifetime. Unlucky if you have to do that a little bit more. So the context there is completely missing from that. And even big companies like Amazon miss that sometimes. I think it's just important, we can put these companies on pedestals and they do amazing things, but they don't get everything right. And so always remember that context. So the first one is not using marketing to its full potential, because we can use the automation, we can use the tools, but sometimes we just forget the human element and the context that should be there. Okay, pitfall number 2. Now, this is a real-life story that I got permission to share. This is Hannah. She's in her mid-20s, and she had real sad news that her father had died suddenly. And she was helping her mother contact the organisations like the bank to tell them what had happened, and to sort those kind of side of things out. Now, the banking organisation, a big global bank, asked her to post the death certificate of her father with a letter, with the dates and everything. So she did, as they requested. She posted the death certificate with the letter, with the information they asked for. What do we think would be the human response back from the bank to Hannah? And we can shout out. What do we think the letter should contain from the bank? Yeah, some compassion. Anything else? What would we expect to see?
Clarity about what happens next.
Yeah, next steps. Awesome. Okay, so compassion and clarity. This is what they sent. "Dear Miss Layford, thank you for your recent correspondence." That was her father passing away, her telling them that. "Please find and enclose your original documentation." That was her father's death certificate. "Yours sincerely," and then had the manager's name. This is lacking any context or compassion at all to what she sent, and no empathy whatsoever. So I actually had the opportunity to provide a workshop for this banking organisation about automation and customer journeys. And I'd seen this, and I thought, do I share this with them or not? Because I'm not going to make friends here with this. But I went through the same scenarios I have done here today, and I said to them, what do you expect to see? Exactly what you said. Compassion, empathy, next steps, which is completely missing. And when I told them did you know it's your organization that sent this? They had no idea. More worryingly, they didn't know which system was sending this communication. So we just need to bear in mind the context also of our customer, what they're going through, to be as useful and helpful as possible. Because our risk is that as we start to use more and more machines, and especially now with AI, we start to lose the compassion and the empathy. And we start to forget what we should be providing customers next. So providing and keeping in mind the customer's context is really, really important. Okay, so pitfall number 3. And this is the video with sound.
Can you put your hands in your head? Oh no, I said dreamer. You say you are a dreamer. Well, can you put your hands in your head? Oh no, I said fudge. Wanna take the year, hey ladies. You know, well you know, yeah, it coming to you. I miss you so much. Toast.
Who has one of these? Oh, wow, I thought everyone here would say yes. Okay, that was not what I was expecting at all. Okay, so I've presented a lot this year, and only ever one person has put their hand up to say that they have one of those. Now, obviously, it's very, very expensive at the moment, very costly, but I wonder how far away we've come away from this on the left. Does anyone remember these? Google Glasses, which were much less like ski goggles. Maybe they were more acceptable to wear. You know, so Apple do amazing things. It's an amazing piece of technology that's in the Apple Pro Vision, but is the use case really strong enough for its wider adoption? It's actually undersold massively. They've sold fewer than 300,000 globally so far. So really, really undersold. They actually estimated to sell over 900,000, and they've had to lower that expectation by half already. So even by the end of this year, they're way below their targets. You know, and we think about this in terms of their vision, in terms of Apple. Obviously, for Steve Jobs, there's been a lot of changes in the organization. But if we look at what their vision and mission is as a company, it's to make the best products on earth and to leave the world better than we found it. So it's questionable, I think, sometimes, if an organization starts to deviate away from their mission and strategy, do they lose that kind of connection with the audience? I think we're starting to see that a little bit with Apple. Just to give you an example of an organization that really lives by its mission, is a company called Chewy, and they provide pet food products in the United States. Their mission is to be the most trusted and convenient destination for pet parents and partners everywhere. Okay, so how do they live by this? When a pet passes away, they not only just give a full refund to a customer who's already still got some food left over, and they let them know, they say, don't worry about it. You get a full refund, go donate that food to a shelter or someone else. They also do personalized paintings of the pet because they have that data, because people build profiles of their animals on their website. I mean, what a brilliant way of using data to connect to your mission and vision and really live through it to your customers. And they go back to every single response that they also get on social media. It's the least we could do. We hope these flowers will help you keep your spirits up. So they do a range of things, from flowers to personalization. Simple touches. I mean, the painting is kind of the extreme level there, but sending some flowers, just giving a free refund, you know, that builds that trust and loyalty with your customer base. So really living up to the vision. There's quite a few organizations, particularly at the moment, that have a lot of values. They talk about their core values, but they don't necessarily live up to those core values, and they're not living up to their vision. So a really big pitfall in marketing strategy, because what you're communicating in your marketing will be completely different to how you're operating as a company. And that's when you start to see a big disconnect. Okay, the fourth pitfall. We won a new client recently. Amazing, awesome, great news for the team. The first thing that we do is we want to uncover, okay, what is your strategy? What are your goals and objectives? And sometimes we get, quite often, blank faces of, just to make more money, just to sell more things. So we try to get under the hood of, okay, what's the goals and objectives of your organization? What are you trying to achieve? And as part of that, we want to understand, what are your brand guidelines? What's your brand tone of voice? And this new client gave us this for their brand guidelines and said, go on, go use it. They gave us 20 variations of their brand guidelines, and each brand guideline document was more than 20 pages long. So immediately you start to see, okay, I can see why there might be some challenges here. And why was that? Because everybody was feeding in to the mission, to the values, to the brand guidelines. So what that then meant was that the organization didn't represent itself consistently. They had different colors being used at different conferences. On their website, it was different to their social media. And it ends up being like a real kind of mishmash of their brand. And they actually didn't have any traction for a really long period of time because of that. If we get it right, it's simple, like Lego. Lego is one of the brands that really have stayed core to their brand values, their mission, but also been very succinct in doing so. They've kept it simple. Their belief, children are our role models. Their mission, to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. And when we look at their values, imagination, fun, creativity, caring, learning, and quality. You only have to go into a Lego store and you pretty much experience all those values. They're also an organization that are very honest. They have gone down the sustainability route. They've tried to produce bricks that are more sustainable, tried to use a different type of plastic. They tested it, and after 2 years, they admitted, do you know what? It wasn't a better solution for us. It's actually going to produce more emissions than what we're using now. So going back to the drawing board, and we're going to try again. Now, a lot of organizations might not have been so honest about that and just continue to plow ahead. But they really lived up to their mission and vision and their values here. With brand guidelines, they can be really simple. And it's so important because if we have hundreds of different colors, we have hundreds of different logos, we're not going to represent ourselves in the consistent way. This is the same for the technology, the journeys that we're building. Keep it simple. This is a very complicated customer journey. And when we can add complexity once we've got the basics right. Something as simple as this, from A to B, can be enough to start providing some value to customers with your marketing. 2 key book recommendations that I give you here is Think Simple, by Ken Siegel. It's a really brilliant book if you haven't seen this already. And Responsible AI. This is a new book, came out in July by Olivia. Olivia is definitely worth someone following on LinkedIn. And it's all about the ethical use of AI, but how to set the foundations in an organization. So really interesting perspective that she comes in at. Okay, so that pitfall, too much complexity, keep it simple. We saw a lack of data being simplified, a lack of context. Just keep it simple. We overcomplicate quite a lot of the time. Okay, the final pitfall number 5. So when we start with a client and we're trying to understand objectives, sometimes these are the objectives that we get. Increase revenue, let's send more emails, advertise on Clubhouse. Who remembers Clubhouse? A few? Yeah. Everybody, quite a lot of marketers went straight to Clubhouse, and then it kind of went to nothing after. The shiny thing. And now we get a lot of, we just want to use AI. AI. Okay, but what do you want to use it for? But we just want to use AI. Okay, but what's the objective? No, we just want to use the AI, Jenna. That's all we want to do. The objective and the strategy is still really important, even with AI. And there's a really brilliant TED Talk by Joanne Boyce that she talks about being aware of the dog and the biases in AI when we're using AI. And that we need to train it like a puppy. We need to train it as if we have a new puppy. We need to train it on what we're expecting to see, not what we're expecting to see back, but to educate it on the biases that it's already trained on. And it's a really interesting perspective because we should be reviewing our prompts to make sure that they are using UK law if we're based in the UK, if we're based in Prague, we should be making sure that it's using that local law. Because typically it will be based on US law, which can be very different. We should be checking the outputs. We had some great discussions last night about vetting and using it to create different types of content, conversational content, but we were all talking about vetting it afterwards. So always checking the outputs that it's receiving and not just using it for verbatim. Train the puppy. So we do need to make sure that we're also training it. Who's regularly using like ChatGPT or Bard or any of the tools? Okay, and how many of you are vetting the results after? Oh wow, less than half. Okay, so do look at those results that you're getting back to check that it is really what you're expecting, because they're not always 100% accurate. But I highly recommend checking out this TED Talk. Joanne's a really interesting person who's also got a piece of technology to unpack the biases in AI. Okay, so what is a strategy? The strategy, and this is the missing piece that we see a lot in marketing, is where we need to define the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. And then we determine the tactics. So what typically happens is that we all run to the tactical part of how we're going to do something, but we don't necessarily iron out who are we targeting. Because we're not always the customer. We can be very, very different to our target audience. To think of it another way, the strategy is the map which takes you to your destination, which can be a very, very simple map. It doesn't have to be complicated. And the tactics are the vehicles you're going to use to get there, whether that is AI, whether that is some levels of automation, whether that is different open source code that you're going to be using there. But we still need to determine that map of where we want to get to. And if we don't plan, we are planning to fail, because our strategy determines where we're going, what we want to achieve, what needs to be done, but also keeps everyone in the organization in the same direction, rather than kind of all starting to go off in different tangents. So in the book, in your bag, you have the strategy framework that I created, and this goes through each step that should be covered in a strategy. And if you already have a strategy, there might be elements that maybe you're missing or that you need to go back in and maybe just review and just refocus. But the most important areas that typically get missed is the scenario area of a strategy. So determining your wider context. What's happening outside of your organization that can have a really big impact, you can't control, but could impact your company. And also what's happening with your customer and your competitors that you should be factoring into your strategy. So the strategy-free strategy is something that we still see quite a lot of in marketing, but also in businesses as well, that typically don't have that clear kind of plan or direction. Okay, so the 10 common pitfalls that are also in your book as well, that we've gone through 5 of those. The missing milestones and the poor people management all come from not having that key core direction of your strategy. So some key areas there. Key takeaway. So strategic thinking is vital in all areas of the business. I think sometimes we just think about the marketing side, but actually strategic thinking is important throughout. And that critical thinking is a really, really core area that can be really missing at times. And when we're using things like AI and prompts, that critical thinking of the responses is a vital piece that we should still be incorporating. Even though we have access to lots of data, it's not always useful. When I teach at different universities, students are like, yeah, but we've got all this information, can we use it? And it's not always relevant. So think about what's going to be most relevant to add value to the end customer. Always think about that end customer. What's their behavior? What do they tell you that they like? that they don't like, but also what are their expectations. We will always, be as part, as humans, we'll always need to steer the direction of the machine and the technology. I think that's a really important area. So even when we're using AI, there's still a place for us. It's not going to overtake us all. So that's where that strategic thinking comes in. We know more about the business than the AI will. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you very much for having me. Any questions? I'll happily answer them. Any questions from anyone? Yeah.
You talked about vetting the responses. What are the strategies you use to vet your responses?
To check that it's really that it's correct in what it's giving you, depending on what you're asking it, really. The most important thing is to think about your prompt and to structure that in as much clarity as possible. So the way to think of it is rubbish in, rubbish out. If you prompt it with just provide me this content on this, with no kind of context on who the audience is, the length of the content, what you want to cover, then it's not necessarily going to fulfill everything that you needed. If you then build out your prompt to be much more contextual, then you'll get much more value content out. When you're vetting, to check that against laws and regulations, because AI will be trained on US law, and so already there's been some challenges with UK law, European law, GDPR, for example, on the output. So just checking that. And you can put that in your prompt as well, but just vetting that. But also vetting that it sounds like it's come from you or the brand and the tone of voice. Because it's really obvious when a piece of content, let's say, has been copied and pasted and then just posted. And you know that it's just been generated by the AI. It's not been generated by the person or the brand. So putting in the tone of voice aspect and making it sound like it's come from you or the organisation is also really important as part of that vetting piece. Does that make sense? Does that help answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thanks, Jenna. That was a great talk. I think you mentioned a lot of the times people think they have